Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Last of a Driving Breed podcast. I'm very excited to be here and to announce this project, so please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Brendan Tapman. I own Dafton Classic Volkswagen Parts here in Los Angeles, and daily drive a 1970 Volkswagen Westfalia high roof bus. This podcast grew out of a conversation with my friend Mark over a dinner at Bob's Big Boy in Burbank. You know the one from the Austin Powers movies. It's a famed burger joint that hosts a car show every Friday night that attracts various celebrities both in and out of car culture. And roughly 95% of the time, the same Summit Racing catalog cars week after week after week. The focus of this podcast is to share and archive the stories of cars that we think are often overlooked in the digital fame-driven marketplace that we find car culture. At Bob's, and seemingly everywhere else, we find ourselves in a market driven by flashy show cars and equally flashy personalities that drive them. And I love them. But in our discussions, we found a hole in car culture, and that's where this podcast comes in. Classic cars are not the sole pursuit of expensive collections or a hobby for the well-to-do, and they really never have been. We both, the Westie in my case, and a 1988 Toyota Tercel 4x4 wagon in Mark's case, rely on classic cars for the day-to-day. And surely, we discussed, we couldn't be the only ones. So that weekend, I started an Instagram account, bought a web domain, and sure enough, we found dozens upon dozens of people who daily drive classic cars and have stories they want to tell. This podcast is the vehicle to those stories. So come take a ride with us and meet our first guest. Clifford Crate was an obvious first choice for several reasons, and not just for this podcast. This episode, and the unedited audio recording alike, will be archived for the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America, an organization that I'm proud to be a part of, and the one grew out of Cliff's own front yard. Cliff used to own, or rather rent, The Castle, a chicken farm in the San Fernando Valley where he, Jim Thompson, Bob Scott, Richard Kimball, and several other Volkswagen enthusiasts in the 1970s were doing what must have been insane at the time, saving split-window Volkswagen bugs as they came across them. Their split-window Club of America evolved into the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America that we know today. And Cliff is still kicking around in North Hollywood with his collection of nearly 24 air-cooled Volkswagens. He doesn't daily drive just one, but has his pick of several running and driving Type 1 Beetles, from a 1955 European market standard Beetle to a 1993 Mexican market Bojo. Plus his collection of Type 4 Volkswagen 411s and 412s might be the largest in the country. Two things of note. This conversation mentions a couple things that probably seem out of context, so allow me to add some context here. The first would be Walker. Walker is the president of the Drivers Wanted VW Car Club, another club that I belong to and am vice president of. Cliff also belongs to Drivers Wanted, and Walker's shop is Cliff's first go-to, as it is mine. We are all friends, club members, and VW enthusiasts who hang out every single weekend in Porter Ranch. And speaking of VWs, there's mention in this episode of another my bus, quote unquote. Just prior to this recording, I'm happy to announce now, I've purchased from Cliff a 1976 ASI Riviera camper, another Volkswagen high roof bus, as a pairing to my Westfalia. But that excitement can wait for another episode. Here, now, is the Last of a Driving Breed podcast, a conversation with Cliff Crate, Volkswagen maniac, and the embodiment of what his soulmate, the late Ms. Pamela, once told him. Very Weird stands for VW.
Forefathers fruit, and now to suit our great computer, your magnetic ink.
Say that again one more time for me, Cliff.
That's on the Moody Blues album. I think.
I thought you made that up.
No, it's on the Moody Blues.
Is there only one Moody Blues album?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. I think it's on the Threshold of Dream, one of the albums. I think I am. Therefore I am, I think. Of course you are, my bright little star. I've miles and miles of files, pretty files of our forefathers' fruit. And now to suit our great computer, your magnetic ink. Wow, man, my brain is not dead yet. Not quite dead yet. I'm glad I quit doing cocaine 20 years ago.
Only 20 years ago?
I don't remember. I haven't had a beer in 20 years, man. I'm straight.
Thanks for doing this with Cliff. How are you feeling right now?
Moderately needle, thank you.
We're here to talk about would we be able to narrow your life in Volkswagen? So I think we can narrow it down to 5 good stories. Do you think?
5 words?
5 stories.
I blame my parents. Yeah, I get the stink eye, man. My mother and father bought a Beetle in February 1963 up in Volks Motors up in San Fernando. I looked the address up. There's a Social Security office there now. $70 for the sunroof. It was the blue. My brother still drives the car in Eugene, Oregon.
He still has it?
He still got it sitting in. He drives it every day when it's not nasty weather.
How many Volkswagens has he had? Is he rivaling you?
No.
Is the question.
No.
Is there anyone who rivals you?
Yeah, other people. Somewhere. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not out to rival anybody. I just enjoy this. Look at this. I don't care. If I had one, I would dig it.
We're looking at the 1955 standard
no chrome.
European market, not imported to America for
Nope.
sale.
Cable brakes.
Semaphores.
No, well, a lot of cars had those in Europe, but no synchro mesh transmission. The seats you move the seats and undo a wing nut, slide the seat, clamp it down. No chrome in the windows. Cable brakes.
What's the engine?
36 horse.
Just 36. What's
Yeah.
that? 1200 cc's?
1200, 1191 or something like that. Same engine for all of them.
So, how did you get your hands on the standard?
I've known about that car for years, up in Santa Barbara. The little VW shop called Der Volksworks, owned by Dana Steele, and at that time his girlfriend, Terry Mecker. Dana died 3 years ago in his Vatican, and the landlord sold the property after 33 years, and the new landlords kicked him out, so they were out of work. And Dana died in a Vatican wreck. He was...
no.
You don't drink and drive in a windy day in a Vatican. He ran into the side of a mountain.
Oh, no.
And he didn't have a seatbelt on. He flipped it on the driver's door, and there was no windshield, no Dana. Well, you can... But anyways, this was one of their cars. That a shop car was a Kugelwagen. He owned and drove a Schwimmwagen. He had a Kettengrad, the little tracked motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
He had one of those, and a Zundap World War II motorcycle. And he had this. And I bought this, and then Dana's wife, Francine, sold everything to the guy out in Thousand Oaks, Mark Malamud, I believe. And a few months ago in Dune Buggies magazine, I don't have it here. Yes, I do. Showed the 3 cars in this guy's collection. Except this. I got it first. I couldn't afford the Kugelwagen. But I bought this, and I'm happy with it. And I'm ready. I'd love to go cross country in it.
What's stopping you?
I live alone. I got animals. And I'm getting old,
I take my, my dog. I take my dog everywhere.
Well, see that one-wheel trailer sitting back there?
Mm-hmm.
That's I want for this. How'd you like to see me go to an East Coast VW meet in this with California plates?
I'd love to see you do
and
that.
a one-wheel trailer.
I'd love to follow
That's
you
why
there.
Walker painted it gray for me.
It's a single-wheel Allstate trailer.
Allstate tag along. I got it, and then it had a wooden tailgate. Walker did all the work on it, restored it. All I got to do is wire it and get bumper. As soon as I get the brackets for the trailer on the rear, then I can tow it.
So good news actually this week.
Yeah.
I think it's Kevin Zagar of Cool Rides. He's reproducing those brackets now.
For early Beetles?
Yes. For those trailers.
Oh, see this car and see my trailer? They're not hooked together.
We can change that.
I tried to drill the bracket out and one of the bolts broke that holds the bumper bracket. So I got to get a drill with a 90 and drill it out and tap it and do all 4 of them. And then I'll tow the trailer. I'll wire it up with 6-volt LEDs. I don't care.
Yeah, and those are now crazy available too.
Oh, yeah. That wooden trailer has all LED lights on it now. That used to belong to Jim Thompson from the old Volks home. And his health failed, and he left it here, and it's now mine.
So tell me about the old Volks home.
Old Volks home.
And Jim Thompson.
Hang on. I'm going back. Okay, you ready? I'll be as brief as possible. January 4th, 1971, I got out of the Navy. 3 months later, I got a job with a phone company, Pacific Telephone, out in Sherman Oaks. I was driving around my phone truck on probation with my foreman. I was learning the job, and I went down this street called Weddington Avenue, Sherman Oaks, and I drove along and went, oh! And I looked in the driveway. To my right was a 50 Beetle, a standard Beetle. Life says, hey, boss, can I I'm going to go knock on this guy. So you always park your phone truck where the people at the front door can see it. Knocked on the door, met the guy, Bob Rauscher, ended up buying the car from him and he wanted to do something. And he started the old Volks home, and I helped him. I was written up in the Dune Buggies magazine. This little snippet with this watch, in fact. And I was his right-hand man, he said, and I helped him start the business.
So what was the old Volks home? Was it a shop?
The old Volks home, see that window rubber? He was
sir.
the first guy to reproduce aftermarket rubber. The very first company to do that. The old Volks home.
This reproduction solid rubber.
Well, it started out as the solid rubber cowlick in 1971 or 72. I lived at the other house, my old farmhouse, and had a 54 body shell, and we put the rubber in. He stood there with a garden hose, and I was in there with a flashlight looking for leaks until we got it perfected. It was easy to put a rear window in, and that's how it started. And I stayed with the phone company, and he got the old Volks home going. And the window rubber, my 68, that's original old Volks home rubber. It's over 20 years old. It's not cracked or nothing. You can look at it later. But anyways, then Rauscher wanted to do other things, and Rauscher he bought a 1949 Porsche, number 17.
1949 Porsche.
Yeah, it was a Gamoond coupe. It was serial number 17. You had the corner windows and semaphores in the front quarters.
He just bought a Moon coupe.
He had Bob Rauscher.
Or Gamoond, or how
G-M-U-N-D, Gamoond. Well, this was just a stock. It was serial number 17.
That's amazing.
And it had a red interior, and I don't remember the color of the car, but had semaphores in the quarter. It was all original. But that was then, 1972. Or 73 is before I bought this house. And he sold it to a dentist or a doctor for $65,000 a long time ago. Number 17. It was all original. It had the little dash pod in the middle, semaphores, the windshield, and the little corner fixed windows where the vent wings would go. 16-inch wheels with beauty rims.
So he had a Gamoond coupe. What was he doing with Volkswagens?
Well, he had an air-cooled Vanagon, too. And the license plate said H2O no, because it was air-cooled.
When about was this?
72 or 73.
With a Vanagon?
Then he bought the Vanagon a year later, because 80 was the first air-cooled Vanagon.
Yes.
So this was way before. I bought this house in 75, so this was before I moved here from the castle. I'll drive you by the castle someday. There's an acre. We had 25 EWs in 1971.
I've never pressed you on the castle before. What was the castle?
That was my old farmhouse. I rented a 3-bedroom on an acre. It was over 100 years old. It's still there. That's where the vintage Volkswagen Club got started. Bob Scott, I taught Bob Scott VWs over at the castle. We had 25. There was 4 of us living there. I paid $180 a month rent. There was 4 of us living there. Do the math. That's $45 a month per person.
For a room.
Well, it was 3 bedrooms, and who knows.
$45 a month in the valley.
Yeah, on an acre, residential agriculture. It was an old chicken farm. I still got an old little egg scale. There was chicken egg incubators in there, and the garage was for buggies. Brendan, we'll go by there someday. It's about 2 miles from here.
I'm still flabbergasted at $45 a month for a room. Less than $200 for a rent on a 3-bedroom house in the valley.
It was, my mom knew the owners, and I rented it under my name.
Always a connection, isn't there?
It works. And it was $180 a month rent. And I had Fred Weiss live there. He died earlier this year. Judd Bosworth, you met Judd. Where's his house?
I met Judd, yes.
And me, and then a few other, Jimmy Rhodes, a few other guys came and went. But we had 25 EWs. I had 4 split windows at one. Wait. I had 5 split windows at one time. Before I got the house. In September 1971, I bought 3 split windows from one guy. I had mentioned this before. I bought a 49. It's now in Hawaii, Captain Cook, Hawaii. I was the other roommate, Jeff Fife. He moved to Hawaii. He went to Hawaii on vacation, came back and left. Took the Beetle with him, and he used to send me Pakalolo all the time, it's Kona Gold and stuff. So he took the 49. I bought 252 crotch coolers, $400, $550. The one for $550 was loaded with parts.
$150 worth of parts?
Then it was okay, but now 47 parts, front hood for 47 and brake drums and just stuff. And then I bought Bob Rauscher's 50 standard, and then I bought double dash crotch cooler 52, with the crotch coolers there, and It was a driver. It was all painted light beige, had the proper chrome. I had a 36 horse engine in it, full crash. That was my daily driver. I had original headliner. And then I bought a 52 convertible for $350 and drove it. Brendan, those were the days, man. And the car was smashed front and rear. The engine lid was broken. The rear was smashed. So someone said, hey, man, I bought a 52 convertible body. They pulled off with the chassis. Paid $150 for parts. It's sickening. The original vintage VW catalog Bob Scott did had a bunch of pictures. One of them is a photograph from up there looking down at the dash with a convertible top down. I'll point it out when I can find the catalog.
Do you still have that catalog?
I loaned it out to Robert with the Vintage Volkswagen Club president.
Yeah, VW kid.
Yeah, VW kid, yeah. So he'll get it back to me. And then, hey, I drove a 52. One day, man, you ready for this story? Judd had a 55 pickup at the center stoplight. I don't remember what he had for an engine. We got wind at Lakewood Motors. Was selling a bunch of junk. So Judd and I went down there. He's working at the VW dealer then. Dick Joyce VW. And he drove the pickup. I drove the convertible and bought the dealer out. He had the pickup. I had two brand new oval window roofs. Front cowl to the rear with sunroof openings. And both roofs had different size openings. I bought a brand new quarter panel with a semaphore slot.
From Lakewood
Motors. This is 72 or 73. And I'm driving down the freeway with my double dash convertible with parts hanging out. But it was only 20 years old when I bought it.
See, you told me you did that with when Bob Scott started importing the reproduction taillight lenses. You'd go down to San Pedro.
Oh, when I worked at Vintage VW. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love stories, Brendan.
That's what we're here for.
At Vintage VW, the first reproduction parts that Bob made, and I went down with him and we loaded up big giant bags of brand new blue crests and the backing plates for the hood. That was the first thing he reproduced. There were thousands of them. That was the first thing he reproduced. I'm riding shotgun, bags full of Wolfsburg crests, man. Then he reproduced the bullet turn signal lenses in amber. He was the first to do all this. Then the oval bullet turn signals, and we sold them like crazy, but they kept coming back because the amber faded real quick. So he sent the Linden Lie back in Taiwan and had them redone, and we had all kinds of stuff reproduced. And Bob and I went out. You know, the 36 horse engine has that little ring in the back for the air when it's cold.
That Venturi ring?
Yeah, that's where it's cold. We turned down hundreds of them, but we don't need them. And I'm going, well, it's his business. There were boxes of those things.
So what you're saying is it's not MP's fault that reproduction parts started in China?
Bob had the stuff made in Taiwan. I forget who did it, but the guy's name is Linden Lai. And I talked to Sherry last summer at Prado. She now owns Vintage VW because...
Sherry was Bob Scott's widow or daughter?
It was Bob's wife, Beverly. It was her son's wife.
Gotcha.
Okay, Sean died a year or two ago with liver cancer. Owned Vintage VW. I guess he was in a motorcycle wreck years ago and he finally got liver cancer from it. So Sherry's running it. So I bought some parts from her at Prado last year. And I guess Linden Lai, that was doing all the reproduction parts, died because Bob had all the molds. And the wife is taking over and messing with her. So I haven't found out what's happening. She was going to have to fly over, talk lawyer and all the stuff. He had tons of stuff. It's only 4 years I worked there. I was his first employee.
When about were you working for him?
Oh, 58 right around San Fernando Road, 5832 San Fernando Road.
Yeah, because
it's this side.
I've looked it up. There's a
transmission shop there, and there was that Kellogg Avenue where something came in at an angle, and right next to us was a bar. So we'd go over there for a quick lunch, if you know what I mean. I used to drive my 56 right-hand drive there. I drove everything there.
Your 56 right-hand drive?
Yeah, I had a Japanese Yanasi Motors Tokyo 56 right-hand drive.
See, I haven't heard about this one. You got to tell me about this one.
This is a 56 right-hand drive oval window. It was faded like this, but it was a silver blue metallic, but it was faded. You take the front hood, set it down, you go with a thumb, click, and it was nice.
It was a Japanese import Volkswagen?
Yeah. It was made for Japan because you open the engine lid and the upper left corner of the firewall was a plate probably, 2-3 inches square that says Yanasi Motors Tokyo Limited, had the VIN number and all the numbers on there. I went, oh. Yanasi Motors. Now, when I was in Japan in the Navy, I was riding the train, young 19-year-old dumb stupid kid, and I'm taking pictures. I see this giant VW sign. I went click, and I got 2 photos. It was Yanasi Motors, way before I bought this car. I drove all over and cross the motor, man. I don't even know where I got the engine. Crash box first. I flied. I was doing 120K, no big deal.
120K would be about 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, because 100K is 62.1 miles per hour.
Yes.
It's for something like that. So you do, whatever.
So it had no crash motor in it?
I put it in. I don't know where I got it. Brendan, those were the days.
I don't know where I got this Okrasa motor, but I put it in my Japanese import
right-hand drive
Volkswagen Beetle.
Rust-free, faded, and I told you this story before. At the castle over there, I lived there for 4 years.
Right.
Sorry.
He's grinning.
I'm going back. Bob Scott was always over there. I met Bob Scott. My brother and Judd used to work at Dick Joyce VW, which is across this side of Galpin Motors, which was a Mazda dealer, and now it's out of business. And that was Dick Joyce VW, dealer 183. That's where I bought my thing. And this 68 Beetle here was sold there because I got the paperwork for this. I'm the second owner of this rust bucket. It's a nice car. And Bob was over there buying parts from Judd and my brother. And they said, you should meet my brother with me, Cliff. So that's how I met Bob Scott. It's been downhill since.
That's the only way a Volkswagen goes, right?
Yeah, downhill. Well, 36 horse. This thing will fly. But that across was fast. Anyways, so that's how I met Bob. He used to go to Brazil all the time and bought parts.
Which is where your Fusca came from.
That's one of the 3 that came up. Let me put it this way.
Was it 3 cars or 4 cars that he
3.
imported?
3. Wait a minute. When you use the word import, you use your 2 fingers, the 2 little quotes. He imported 3. The bodies were off the chassis.
This is
new to you. I never told you. So anyways, that's what happened. And Bob was telling me that the custom guy said, if these are here tomorrow, we're going to take them. Customs.
Tell the story as to why he was bringing in Fuscas to begin with.
I don't know. I honestly don't remember. I have brain fade.
Because Pete, the story that was given to me at one point, Bob Scott was going down to Brazil to the Sao Paulo plant.
He went 2 or 3 times.
Had a contact there. Was buying parts by the container load.
I was working for him when that happened.
And importing them to the Port of Los Angeles and distributing them through finished parts.
Yep. I was there.
And the last time he went down, his contact was arrested or disposed or what wasn't available. He had a bunch of cash, and so we bought brand new Fuscas off the lot.
3 of them.
And stuck them in containers and brought them up here.
That's one of them in my garage.
And we know where
Howie at Black Forest.
Howie's got one of them.
One got 10 kilometers, he thinks, on it.
And yours only has a
26,000
kilometers on it.
Stupid old, worn out.
Where's the third one?
I don't know. My memory was telling me I thought Claude's Buggies bought it. But I talked to them once recently, and they go, I need to talk to someone that's been there forever about a Brazilian Beetle, and everybody says we've never knew about that. So,
that Bob Scott imported?
No, this is another one that someone brought in.
Gotcha, because I was under the impression there were 4.
3.
There's yours, Howie's. One ended up in like Dana Meekum's collection at some point.
That may be it. I don't know. 3 of them.
And then there's a 4th one that no one knows what, where, why.
Unless I didn't know, because I remember them. I got the gray one. It's a 1300.
This is exactly why we're doing this, so we can remember.
If something else comes up, I have never remembered a 4th one. I don't know.
Were they all in one container?
I don't know. I didn't go down to get them.
Gotcha.
That was one of those clandestine at night things.
He gets them through customs.
I don't know how they were put together either. Body's back on.
But obviously, body got back on one of them because you were driving.
All 3 of them. They were put together. Mm-hmm. One Howie's got is together. And the other one, they was together. And over the years, I don't remember. I think Howie's is white. Mine's that nice light gray. And I don't remember anything about the other one. I don't know the color. I don't remember.
How did you get your hands on the light gray one?
Mine? Bob was going to sell it. I said, I'll buy it. That simple. And I registered in the state of California my way.
It's a Volkswagen. I don't know anything about it. I think it's a 67.
64.
You never got that one clerk that knows the difference between the years.
I took the Brazilian Beetle over to the Glendale DMV, and I says, hey, you play the game. Nate told me years ago, when you go to do this, state what you want and zip it. Don't volunteer anything. And I says, someone gave me a 64 Beetle years ago, and I've restored it over the years, and I want to register it. And of course, the little guy came up with his clipboard and white shirt and a tie, and let's go look at it. He went over it here and there, and I says, I've been working on this for 15 years, and it was smashed. And he opened the hood and says, where's the plate? I says, I don't know. The body shop did it 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know. Okay. Looked under the seat, did this and did that. And he says, okay. I says, hey, thanks.
Because the car is legally registered.
It's legally registered as a 1964 Type 1.
The newest 64 in the world.
It is the newest 64. And my red one over here is the newest 75 in the world.
Tell me about that one.
My Bocho? Bocho.
Bocho?
I'm learning Spanish by the parts.
Bocho?
That's a 92. Bob Scott brought it up. No. Someone came up with it, and Bob bought it. And Bob, I'm going to sell it. I said, okay, I bought it. It's a 75. I went to the auto club this time.
How many other cars did you buy from Bob Scott? Well, let's start. Are there any here?
No. Just these two. This one, this nice ASI Riviera 76 high roof camper, Bob Scott turned me on to it. If it wasn't for Bob Scott, I wouldn't have this. Your bus. Do you remember, did you ever go to the Wrecking Yard Volkswagen?
No.
You've heard of it.
You've told me about it.
I bought a 69 411 out there from this, and Bob Scott, after he retired, Bob Scott would always call me and says, I'm nervous. Walker uses that expression now. I taught him well. Okay, and Bob would call me, he called me one day and says, I'm nervous. I went, oh shoot, man, what'd you find this time? You better give it to a Volkswagen. Okay, mosey over, he pointed at this. That's Brendan's new high roof. Nobody is supposed to know about that, but that's okay, you can delete it.
Well, I know he didn't say that, but...
No, but he told me about it, and I bought it, and the story on this bus, I may have told you, this was from Fraser Park. The guy was getting a divorce, didn't want his wife to own it, took it down to Volkswagen, and they salvaged it real quick. It's a salvage title. You just go through your inspection and get it running. So that's how I got it. I drove it home and it was banging and clanging, and the first thought was, if I make it home, I got to rebuild the engine. But you never do that. You go out and do a tune-up. And I tuned it up, and it's been purring ever since until I think the clutch broke. And it's been non-op since 2001, sitting right here. I drove this to Sacramento to see my parents. I've been all over in this thing. Then I was on San Fernando Road, shifted into third gear, and went, dick. And that was it. Towed it home. So I think the clutch broke. Then I bought the reason why I got this is before I had this, I had a 72 pickup truck. Wide bed. I'm going to show you a picture what it looks like. Nobody else can see. Just a second. It's a 72 wide bed pickup. You see, I'm doing this.
I can grab my camera so I can.
All right, just a second. There's some fire trucks.
Add this to the video version.
That's why you need this book. Ask me questions while I'm looking. Hang on a second. Where in the world is this wide? Anyways, there's a wide bed pickup, wooden side gates and everything. And I bought that, and I sold that to get the high roof. I can't find it. I'll find it.
What was it, like a stake bed or a
No,
bed?
it's just a regular pickup truck, but it didn't have the metal side gates. The bed stuck out about 6-8 inches. Back and the sides. It's wide bed. And the gates were wood. Metal frame with plywood.
Oh, was it sold like that, or
yeah,
someone's
it's an M
homebrew?
No, it's an M code. There's an M code in here for the wide beds. They sold them that way.
Interesting.
And it was a 72 European model, so it had the big bay window engine compartment with the Beetle motor with a big tin around it. And it had disc brakes and no power brakes. Power brakes are mostly North America, I believe.
Oh.
So they have the disc brakes like this and just didn't have the power booster. It had a 1600 dual port and that weird big tin and big mirrors that stuck way out. It was Westphalia green.
But not a Westie.
No, but it was that color.
Obviously,
I don't know who built
that was a
it.
dumb question.
I don't know. They made probably more than other stuff. The Brazilian bay window wide beds, single cabs, they're made by Carmen Ghia. Go on the Samba on the Brazilian bus section, and look at all the pictures. Those wide beds with metal side gates, some are made by. It has a Carmen Ghia plate on it. When you open the front door, right there's a plate on the bed sticking out. So
Interesting.
Brazilian buses, yeah. So anyways, and I bought the thing brand new in June of '73. Been to Miami Beach in it and back. Been to Seattle in it. Loaned it to my friend Harry for 2 years. He moved up to, Cedarville, Fort Bidwell's, above Cedarville, almost to Oregon. He lived up there for 2 years and borrowed that. And that's it. That's all I got. And then my Type 4s and
Your Type 4s. How many Type 4s do you have?
10.
No, I believe you.
I think you should own a Type 4.
But as you know, parts availability
Are here.
are right here.
I have a 10 by 20 shed that's full of Type 4 parts.
How, after the split windows, after the buses, after the associating with the Mini Cooper, what made you go after the Type 4s?
I don't know. Oh, I did. I did drive a '54 barn door for years. Panel van.
But now you've got a Type 4 squareback.
I have. One day, okay, this trips me out, man. When Pamela was alive, this is some years back, I told her she thought that VW stood for very weird.
She was right.
And I told her, thank you, ma'am. And she, I says, Pamela, I think I want a Type 4. Okay, that was it. Then her brother would come over all the time, Rusty. I want a Type 4, and he says, I got one. Yeah, I got a gold coin in my pocket too. He says, I got one, so I bought that 74 for $400 from him. That's under the tarp. And I said, that's a bitchin' car, man. So now I buy them, and they're all cheap. Except that blue one right behind me.
It's a 412.
It's a 412, four-door. I'm the second owner, automatic transmission, and an air conditioner.
Compared to everything else Volkswagen was making, they're already making water-cooled cars.
The Golf and stuff. This was Volkswagen.
Were these cars getting the 412 right here? Is that a 1.8 or a 2-liter?
1.7 and a 1.8. Volkswagen.
They never got a 2-liter.
No, they only made them 6 years.
That's just the 914 and the
the buses. Volkswagen had the mentality that the world was going to stay air cooled. Then the Japanese started making little water pumpers, and it changed. They only sold under 368,000 of these for 6 years. This was Volkswagen's Edsel, this Type 4.
That's a quote.
That is my opinion, sir. But Edsels run, they just weren't popular. That car there, Brendan, this blue one, and my yellow squareback are 212 VIN numbers apart. Either the same day or a day apart. California engines are 48 numbers apart. And that one very far back is a 1969, made January 69. All the parts are 1 year only, and the car, I'm not going to restore it. I'm going to see if anybody in Europe would be interested in a 69.
Well, you're not really much of a restorer, though.
I drive them. I don't want to restore them. That blue car is the only one that's ever been restored. I drive these things. I don't care. I'm not going to paint this. I'm not painting the one. Walker clear coated it. The thing's never going to get painted.
Well, it's less about painting and more about you're still keeping them up.
I'm driving them. This is my Super Beetle out in the driveway. 72 Super Beetle auto stick. Huh?
Madman.
Thank you. And I drive it. I love that car. Turn the key, put it in high gear, and just feather the gas, and it's like an old Chris Craft taking off. And eventually gets around there. Or you can shift it. 3-speed manual with a vacuum clutch. How perfect. And these Type 4s, you just turn the key and drive them. They're designed to go fast. I was driving my yellow one at 70 miles an hour and blew the motor up. When Jim Green rebuilt the engine, he didn't even have to line bore the case. New bearings, put fresh heads in, new pistons and cylinders, and And you take care of them and they'll last forever. It's a Type 4, man. Someone's going to get running cars someday. Well, I want to be buried in my blue 59. Joint in one hand, a shot of whiskey here, and in between my legs, a bottle of absinthe. Oh yeah, and a cigar. Be driving in my car, smoking my cigar. Cream. That album Cream. I can't help myself, man.
So, tell me about the Split Window Club of America.
I'm trying to think of the very beginning, what transpired to get it going. I blame Bob Scott. Something like it, because he knew everybody, which wasn't a lot of people. There were in those 71 or 72 or whenever it started. We got to go to the castle someday. You and I are going to take a drive and just take them where it started. There was a Judd's 55 pickup. I don't remember how Bob invited a bunch of guys, I believe, and I apologize for people I forget. I think Richard Kimball was there. It's 587,000 joints ago. 5,900 gallons of beer ago. But
I just want to be clear that Mr. Buggin.
I believe Richard Kimball was there. I wouldn't bet my life. If you offered me, I wouldn't. I don't remember. I believe he was there. Tom Marshall and his dad, Drain Marshall, were there. They brought a Kuba wagon, and across the street they parked the U.S. Army half-track. Kerry Morris was there. I remember he had an oval window, and the quarter windows were filled in, smooth, with portholes. That's how they did it in those old days. You know, it was just smooth. There was no windows, and he had a porthole. People did that. I got a little thing from Beverly Scott, Bob's wife, and she said there was, what she recalls before they were married, but what Bob said, there was supposedly 30-some-odd people there. I don't remember. I remember Bob Scott was a drama teacher at Glendale College. I went and saw 2 of his plays. Mm-hmm. And Bob was standing on the back of this old pickup truck, talking. And it started out as a Split Window Club of America. And it drifted into the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America.
Do you remember when it became the Vintage Volkswagen Club of America?
No. I think if you look at the stickers, it says established, 1976? Or something like that.
But that would have been as the Split Window Club.
Vintage Volkswagen Club. The Vintage Volkswagen Club was established, I think, in 1976.
When was the Split Window Club?
Before that. I moved here in 75. It was before 75. I lived at the house for 4 years, the castle.
So, 72? Somewhere
okay.
I
don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
We had 25 VWs there, and I'm trying to... I don't know. That was a wonderful blur. We had 2 Porsches, 59, 62, 2 right-hand. I had a 58 right-hand drive with a sunroof. That was fun cruising Van Nuys. We had a little right steering wheel, and Judd would sit on my left with the steering wheel. As soon as the light turned green, he'd stand out the left side sunroof with the steering wheel doing this, and I'd take off. Wow, Brendan, one time I drove my right-hand drive oval window through a drive-through backwards. I was by myself.
Before the JDM kids, you know that's a thing to do now.
Right-hand drive them.
Import a car from Japan like a Nissan Skyline.
Yeah.
And film yourself going through the drive-through backwards.
I did that.
You're doing that back in the day.
I did that before I moved here.
That's what makes you the OG. The old guy.
I'm feeling old. Yeah, I'm driving. It's like all these old cars, man. You're making me think.
Good.
I almost bought a Kuba wagon.
When?
Early 70s.
Why?
Before here. I was working at the phone company before Vintage VW. I found a Kuba wagon, all original, with a trailer. And on the trailer was a generator and an engine. And in the back seat of the Kuba wagon was a radio. It was a radio car. They wanted $18,000. Yeah, it was a Kuba wagon communications car. They wanted $18,000 for it. And I go, hey, man, that's no big deal. And what else did I... Oh, Bob Scott, man, he did it again. Years ago, he says, I'm nervous. I go, crap. And I don't remember where it was. It was in the valley. I don't know. We went to this raggedy old house with a 2-car garage. The left spring on the garage door was broken, so the garage door angled up on the right side. Then we pushed a Hebmuller out. An old, tired Heb. I don't know the numbers. It had 54 convertible doors, so it had the vent wings. I don't know if the top worked because it was down. It had a 61 Stale 40, 61 transmission, a 61 axle, and someone padded the dash. So I had the pods and the glove boxes, but it was kind of, oh, wow, that's cool. And I could have bought that for $2,000, drove a beat-up old Hebmuller. But I didn't. And back over on the side of the garage here, for 2.5 years, I stored a guy's 48. He and a friend, I don't know when, long time ago, he and a friend imported this 48 left-hand drive from England, 16-inch wheels. I don't know what engine.
16-inch wheels?
Yeah, it still had 16s on it.
Was that standard?
Yeah, when they had a double dash, they had 16-inch wheels. When they went to the oval dash, they went 15s. All the split windows with the old style no vent wings, double dash, were all 16-inch wheels. All of them came with full crash box transmissions, and they introduced hydraulic brakes in late 49, early 50, something like that. So it was a deluxe.
Wow.
We had cable brakes, and it was black. It had seats and glass. And that was it. And they drove it from New Jersey to California. They were taking black beauties the whole way. Ugh. I remember he pulled up and the speedometer cable's dragging on the ground, and I kept it here, and I was like, oh, I don't want it. Could you imagine showing up with a beat-up old 48 Beetle with a twist front hood handle?
I cannot imagine.
I drove it, but it was, in those days, it was commonplace. They're all over. I got pictures of Bob Scott and I at the castle. We took a 54 Bug, tipped it on its side to pull the tranny out. I got a picture of Bob standing up through the window. You know, it was on site. He rolled the window up on the door high, and he was standing out looking. I went, but that was then, man. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Buy a bunch of Type 4s, apparently.
Yeah, well, they're fun. You go to places, nobody knows, what is this, you know? There was one at Prado. There was a second one showed up at Prado last year. Mine, and a guy had a 411 wagon with a 4-speed. Customized. That was it. And these things fly down the road. Top speed is 93 in my 73 four-door. You can run 85 all day long. It's just like driving a big deluxe 914. Same engine. That's why my license plate on my Squareback says 914 wagon, WAGN. Yeah, and that blue one over there says 914 WGEN.
I've always thought that plate belongs on a 914. And somewhere there is a man with his 914, and you took his plate from him.
But that says 914 wagon, WAGN. And that one says WGEN. So I got two cars with 914 WGEN. And that's a 914 wagon. It's the same engine, same fuel injection. It's got an automatic, and it's a slug, but it flies like a 914.
So, have you had any Porsches?
914.
That you traded for the
engine in here.
The long block in the 55?
Yeah, it's at Jimmy Alvarez's house in Ohio. He loves that car. That's a Joel Crosser motor, my 55. All the engine and all the sheet metal's proper for that year. The generator, I've got the original thin slot generator that's been rebuilt. It's in a box, just haven't put it on yet. I'm not afraid to drive this full crash box. I'm not afraid to drive this anywhere. It's got accessory sun visors too. The standard didn't come with sun visors. Hang on a second. See, there's two sun visors. See them in there?
Right, yes.
Standards didn't come with sun visors. A deluxe would have a mirror and one sun visor on that side.
That's why there's that long rod on the mirror.
But they're accessories for a standard.
It's too cool, Cliff.
And Terry told me, the one I bought it from Der Volksworks, this is what Dana had it for 45 years. He bought it from the original owner. I'm the third. Mm-hmm. And she says, Terry, she said, she's going back to her Wayback Machine. She says, I think this car, the original owner was a friend of Dr. Porsche. That's a story. I have no idea. No way of proving it. It's a story.
It's a good story.
But I have no idea. So I don't want to sell it. I got new skinny tires on it. Hubcaps were dipped and stripped over at a plating place over here on Laurel Canyon. Astral Plating. They do lights and stuff. He dipped and stripped them, and I got rattle cans. The bumpers are brand new from Wolfsburg West, unchromed. I bought them raw, cleaned them and rattle canned them and put clear coat on them. And they got a little bit of rust showing through, which looks perfect for the car. I'm not
because the car's never been refinished.
I don't know if it's a repaint or not. I don't know. It's got look at the fender beading on the rear fender. That's the thin original fender beading. I think one fender's been bipped. I don't care.
And there's a little bit of a rust in the passenger side semaphore.
Yeah, so that's okay.
Little bubble.
This is little rust there. Walker fixed the rust here. I got new window rubber in all 3 windows.
I remember that.
Notice the small profile. Cowlick rubbers. Look on the windshield of my 68. That's big bulgy rubber. That's that cheap crap. Now that's proper for a standard. That small profile. You know what that rubber's from? That's the square windows off of a combi of an early bus. It's exactly the same piece of rubber. Same length. When I got the rubber from Wolfsburg West, it said 221. 221 is an early combi. And it fit perfect. Oh, I like that Toyota.
The only junk back here is that Toyota.
Oh no, I got to get that running. 4-wheel drive, Tercel wagon. Hell yeah.
I've been getting bothered by Mark. He wants to see it.
Well, bring him by.
He wants it.
He can't have it. I'll be the second owner. Pam's mother bought it brand new. It doesn't have air conditioning, which is good. And the radio doesn't work. And I drove it back here.
But who needs that? You got a Type 4 with air conditioning.
Well, I got 2 Type 4s for sale. I got a 72 yellow squareback sitting over there behind. That's Walker's 71 Super Beetle.
Right.
He wants to make a racer out of that, which I like. But that yellow squareback's a 72, sold in, I think, Oxnard or Port Hueneme. And it's California emissions. I got to find some of the pre-sham. I like to figure out if the European guys, they like their Type 4s, but I don't know how to do that. So we'll get that taken care of.
What about the race car, the 59? What's the story on that one?
Walker wants me to put that together, and I told him as soon as I get this bus from Oklahoma City, then I'm going to sit down. It's going to require a minimum of $20,000 to get it started.
But before we get into the bus, that's a story waiting to be told. What's the story? How did you get that 59?
That 59 was built
Shaky Jake car
by my brother. He's younger than me. Judd Bosworth. You met Judd. And another friend of ours, Fred Weiss. He died earlier this year. That was built in 1970.
It's a 1959.
It's a 1959 garnet red. This is for Volkswagen, hardcore Volkswagen people. It was built in 1970 with dual port heads. When were dual ports for the Beetles introduced?
71.
Why does it have dual ports in 1970? Type 3 heads. Fuel injected Type 3 heads were dual ports. So they built this engine for this car. That car was built for, you're making me think. It was built for the early days of Volkswagen slalom racing. The early Buggins had a slalom racing track at Orange County International Raceway. And they were racing it, and it was first gear, second gear, first gear, second gear, right?
Right.
That transmission was built by a gentleman named Al Kadrobi. Somebody might know that name. Built in 1970, I think. I can get more detail from Judd, my brother. And when I had it, I bought it from my brother when I got out of the service. Judd and those guys put 68 taillights on to put the thin chrome on and did a few odds and ends to it.
Put 68 taillights and thin chrome on a 59.
And, yeah, that was the way they did it in those days. Shaky Jake pinstriped it. There's a little bit left on there of pinstriping.
Yes.
And when I told Walker, he wants to do it. He said, let's get it going. You need a fast car before you get way too old. I agree. I says, that has to be photographed, all the pinstriping, so it's matched. On that quarter panel, passenger side rear quarter, there's fancy lettering that says engine by Judd Bosworth, Fred Weiss. I want that reproduced. So the tranny was stretched before freeway flowers. I ran it with a 1600, I think it was a dual port, 10.5
with the Type 3 heads.
Yeah. Okay, let me think. It was a 1600 auto stick case. That's all you can get in those days. 68 case. That had a Norris 336S cam, 10.5 to 1 compression. There goes a Ricky.
They're running compression.
Yeah, holy mufflers. And
got a Honda like that.
Light and flywheel, and it had a 40 P11 carburetor in the middle. A 40 P11 Porsche carburetor. They would run 2 of them on a 912. 40 P11. So it was in the middle. An intake manifold, all 4 tubes coming off were of equal length. And it was light and flywheel, 10.5 to 1 compression, and a stretch transmission. I could run 85 in third.
85 miles an hour in third gear.
Yes, I'm not lying. That's not a story. It would go. But at 55, it would lug into fourth gear. And I was talking to my brother about it recently. He says, You were telling me, well, he and Judd were driving it before I got out of the service. They were coming up from Bakersfield, up the 5 coming from Bakersfield.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother said, he and Fred were riding. My brother was driving it. And they were just trucking up the road. And in the fast lane going up the steep grill, the Corvette took off, was going. And they chased it uphill.
On the Grapevine.
Up the Grapevine on the Bakersfield side. And that was it. And then I raced a car. I raced someone in that. Oh, I got on the Hollywood Freeway here at Roscoe and got off at Sherman Way, which is about, a mile? And the speedometer said 104. And I did this with the steering wheel and nothing happened. I just took my foot off. I drove it to Oregon with a bunch of us. Talked to Judd. He'll confirm it. We were coming back. Judd had his 67 bus with a cutout wheel wells.
Mm-hmm.
Fred had his 68 or 69 Westphalia tin top, white with the Savannah beige. One of the Buggins, Fred won top eliminator at one of the early Buggins, racing against the Tar Babe. It was bracket racing. It's a 69 bus. When he took off, the drawers opened up, the silverware fell off. They had to take hubcaps off and wear a helmet. He was so slow that they took the light and moved it. The green light moved it up a little bit. And then Fred, stock muffler, and Tar Babe red lighted. So anyways, we stole the green light out of the Christmas tree and Fred had it. But I remember once my brother told me, okay. I got on the freeway here, and as I got on the freeway going north, there was a 914 Porsche zipping along, and I beat him. I could drop it down into third gear at around 75 miles an hour and just boogie. And Walker keeps bugging me, we got to get it going.
You do?
Well, I need a minimum of $20,000 to start it, because it has to be done right. When I drove to Oregon, Brendan, it had my brother and Fred or Judd took it to Tijuana, did the headliner in the interior in those days. Big, thick diamond tuck headliner. So I'm driving to Oregon, it keeps falling down. I'm driving along, holding the headliner up.
I know how that goes.
So, so I want to get it on the road and get it done right. Back with the stock taillights, back with the wide chrome, as it was built with the Nerf bars and everything, and the whip antenna.
You don't want to get it back to the way it was in 71?
That's what I want to do. No, I don't want the big taillights on it. Well, maybe I should, huh?
I mean, it tripped people out.
That's a good idea.
People look at it and people would ask, why is that a 59?
Because that's the way it was in 1970. That's a good idea, because it's already pinstriped for the big taillights. That's an idea. I got one wheel left. They widened. Check this. There's a Porsche wheel out there that was widened to 6 inches. I got one left. I don't know where the other ones are. And in my garage, I got long lug bolts with 1-inch spacers. 20 of them to bring the wheels out. You don't see that stuff anymore.
No.
And they ran that
Not
with those
Volkswagen
wheels.
land.
And then my brother I've got one wheel left. They used the wide 5 and they put 13-inch Mercury's outers on it for slalom racing because the gearing was so tall. And I got one of those wheels I'll show you someday. And they put little low-profile racing tires that were flat and it said for dry only.
Right.
And they would run that at the slalom course. There was a slalom course in Thousand Oaks. I went to it once. I remember the big oak tree by there. They used to race it out there. And that's what it is. And I want to get it back. I might like to put a roll cage in it, but I like the idea of the bigger taillights.
I think you should leave it as is.
That's an idea.
A lot of people they pick up old cars and they undo a lot of that stuff.
That's true, because I got plenty of taillights. If not, I go to Walker's, get plenty of taillights. You got to use 68, 69 only taillights, because 70 had the side marker on it.
Right.
So taillights are no problem.
No, getting any of that stuff's not a problem.
But the turn signal switch is...
It's the character and maintaining what the car was.
I think they put 64 style blinkers on the front too. Wide ones. That was the first year for the wide ones. Single element. Look.
They didn't go for the even wider ones.
Not in them days. That's what they put on.
They grabbed a set of turn signals and stuck them on.
Yeah, because they have to rewire it, and because of parking lights with dual elements and stuff. So the taillights, you just got 2 wires and the 6-wire turn signal switch, so we just get the stoplight and taillight. And maybe I'll do that. That's retro.
I think you should do.
Go back the way it was built. I like that.
Go back to the way it was when you got it. Because obviously the car at some point was a stock car. You could take it far back, but
I
like the story of it being a slalom car. I think you should take it back.
That's
to being
why
a
that
slalom
transmission.
car.
Okay.
You got the transmission. Does it still have that hot engine in it?
No.
So
Walker's got an engine, that one he put in his bus.
Oh no!
He wants me to put that in.
No, we have to replicate that engine.
First of all,
1600 with Type 3 heads. The head castings they weren't different for the Type 3s, were they?
I don't know. You have to look at the part numbers. You can
that's easy.
You can use any dual port
high
head.
compression. You know the Norris cam number.
Norris 336S. It hasn't gone away yet. But you got to find the 40P11 carburetor in that manifold. You'll never find that manifold. 2 tubes coming down to one side. I think 1, 2. I don't remember how it was. I have to talk to Judd. There were 4 separate tubes coming off the manifold from the carburetor.
That'd be a project, but you can replicate that.
That's a good idea.
It's not like it was a cast manifold, was it?
No, it wasn't cast.
Just some bent pipes that happen to be well thought out.
I will talk to my brother and I'll talk to Judd. Judd builds engines. He built the engine. And it's got a 0 to 100 mile an hour speedo with a trip recorder, black face. My dad built a tachometer for it.
Built a tachometer?
Yeah, my dad was an instrument man and a metrologist. He used to be an instrument man at Bill Johnson's in Burbank in 1948.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he built a tachometer. That's staying in.
If the tachometer's staying in,
okay,
it tells you exactly what you have to do with the rest of the car.
It's been sitting so long, Brendan, the original paint's peeling off the dash. It's been sitting there 40 some odd years. Just sitting. Let's talk about the Brazilian bus.
Let's talk about the Clipper bus.
The Clipper.
The reason I'm buying the Riviera from you. So you have space for your next what number Volkswagen is it?
I don't know. I have 21, I think. This makes it 20. And that's going to be number 21 again. The Brazilian bus is going to replace this.
So what is a Clipper?
When I register it, it's going to be the 4th illegal car I own. 2 from Brazil and 2 from Mexico.
We're joking, of course.
Yes, we are.
Customs and FBI and...
Well, this car the one I'm getting is registered in the United States already.
Right.
So it's in Oklahoma City.
What makes it a Clipper?
It's a 68 and later body style in the front.
It's a bay window in the front.
Bay window doors, bay window dash with only 1 lever. There's no heaters in it. And from the doors back, it's 55 with the corner windows.
So no slider door. It's got
it's got the 2 opening doors on the passenger side are the exact same ones that are in a 55 bus. It's got corner windows.
So it's like someone took a split window bus.
Spare parts.
Stuck a bay window front.
And it's got the big rectangular taillights.
Low light or
like this.
Yeah. So late bay window even.
Looks like, but it's got the corner windows.
With the high turn signals.
Yeah, it's got 4 windows on the side. Same window rubber. It's on my the quarter window. Same rubber. Got corner windows. It's got, this one's a 1600 dual carbureted. The single carburetors had choke cables. This one's got electric chokes.
What, was this original?
It's
dual
original.
Car?
Yeah, they came multiple.
They came originally dual car.
Yep, I've seen 2 or 3 of them. You can see the air filters, and there's on the engine lid. If you look at the engine lid, the picture's fuzzy. On the lower left, there's an angled something there, and the guy who owns the car said it's a sticker. It's electronic ignition. It's a vacuum advance with a module.
Now, what year was the Clipper manufactured?
From 76 on to the end of production.
What year is this one in Oklahoma City?
It's a 93. It's got the later wheels, flat hubcaps. The earlier ones had 5-bolt with the bubble hubcaps. And I don't know exactly when they changed it because I haven't found the information. And this one's got 100, he said it's got 80,000 kilometers. That's it.
It's about 50,000 miles.
50, 60,000 miles, yeah. And it's a dual carbureted, dual port. And it's plain. It's got a middle seat and a back seat, black. There's no headliner. There's no panels. It's the cheap model. It's the standard bus. He said they buy them and they use them for work vehicles. And then they also make them as taxi. You can get the 6-door ones.
Sure. That's what your neighbors down here at the Caravels are Mexican taxi buses.
With a high roof?
Yeah, that molded.
Those are beautiful.
I've been trying to get in touch with them. I'm trying to get them to come knock on your door.
The Brazilians, you could get single cab or crew cab down there with diesels with a big radiator in the front.
Right.
But the taxis in Brazil, they had, right behind the driver's door, they had a door that opened like this. Then they had about a foot space and another door that opened the same way forward. Taxis on both sides, 6-door. Now you can get them on the Samba, split windows, but they know what they got and they want $40,000 for them.
It's like Stovepipe does.
I've never met him.
Picked his up. He's got double door split, pass-through split window.
What, with the Brazilian taxi?
No. It's a German.
But I mean, what a walk-through or double door?
Pass-through. 2 doors on both sides.
It's a double door.
Yes.
Well, that's normal, but they open this way. The Brazilian.
Barn doors, they both swing out on opposite sides.
Yeah, that's a normal. But
this one, they swing the same.
Yeah, they both swing the same. The door towards the front swings forward like a regular bus. When it closes, there's about a 1-foot panel.
So.
And then the rear door opens forward also. Instead of doing
auxiliary
this,
doors,
they both open this way the same. It's a taxi.
So imagine like a limousine.
Yeah, all 4 rear doors open the same way. They're hinged forward.
Wow.
Yeah, they're on the Samba. Go take a look at the Samba on the Brazilian bus and you go, whoa. Most of them are the same. But when you see a taxi, they also had bay window taxis. Now, whoa. This one I'm going to get, it's only 180,000 kilometers. It's white. They only came white. White wheels, white nipple Brazilian hubcaps. And that's it. It's weird little bumpers. Mm-hmm. They don't have these bumpers. They're just a little short bumper. And disc brakes, I don't know if they're power or not. I don't think so. No heaters. The dash, like yours, has 4 levers. 2 blue and 2 red.
Right. Heat and fresh air.
Yeah, and the Brazilian has 1 lever. Fresh air. The engines don't have fresh air tubes coming off. There's no heater boxes. Just like my Omega, they have a J tube. Just like my Thing has a J tube. There's no heater boxes on it.
I never considered that.
It's a 73. 74 went with heater boxes. It was cheaper than having a gas heater. That's got a gas heater. Well, I drove it to Sacramento one year in December to visit my parents. Tennis shoes on, had the gas heater outlet aimed right over the top of the driver's foot. And I'm driving along, my jacket, it's toasty but cold. And I go, what is that? Oh, it's my tennis shoe getting hot. So it was heat. I had the gas heater going, but up from the windows up, it was cold. I could breathe steam, but the rest of the car was toasty. I liked the thing. Original owner. I got the brake parts from you, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what I want to do now. I think I want to do what you suggested, the bigger taillights on that. Thinking about it, that's got to be in the thin chrome.
On the
59. On the 59 with the 64 turn signals on the front.
Yeah, I think you have to do that.
Because I'm starting to look at dune bikes to get all the retro cars that are coming back. And an Al Kadrobi, there's a very few people that know that name. He built a tranny. It's got to go to transaxle engineering so they can tear it apart and analyze the gear ratio. Huh?
And do some archaeology.
Yeah, and analyze the gearing so you can build an engine with a good cam that will match it. You know what? You need a bottom end cam because of the stretched gears, right?
Right.
Because once you get going at 80 miles an hour, who cares? So that's my story. What else do you want to know? The Omega? I'll tell you about the Omega. You don't care about that.
Tell me about the Omega.
That came from Acapulco. How did I do that? I was looking at pictures. I said, I want an Omega. Then Tino, you don't know Tino.
I do not know Tino. No, I know. You got the black
60 with a Lord in the front. Yeah,
yes.
Little short Mexican guy, real nice guy. He used to work. He used to work at St. Joseph's Hospital. He was a contractor for them. He was a respiratory therapist. And anyways, I talked to Tino. He's into VWs, and the whole deal, blah blah blah, back and forth. And I said, I want to get an Omega. He found this Omega, the blue and yellow one I got.
Right.
He made his wife's family lives in Mexico City. Had it brought up from the resort in Acapulco, the state of Guerrero or whatever, brought up to his in-laws, and we had it shipped up from Mexico City to Tijuana. Tino volunteered to go get it, so I gave him some money. He took his truck and his trailer, parked it on the U.S. side. So he went across there, got a motel, took a taxi, and drove the Omega across the border, both ID cards, put it on his trailer and dropped it off here. Yeah, well, over here in my shed, all the junk, I got a dual port 40 in there. It's a 1973 D case, it's a dual port 40 horse. Serial number indicates 1973, European 1200, and it takes a 30 millimeter. European 12, the 34 was only for USA and Canada. 34 Pick 3 was for North America only. Smog, North America carburetor. And then 74 California was 34 Pick 4. That's when you have the dual heat risers.
Which no one has anymore.
I got a manifold.
I think I've seen 2 or 3 manifolds.
I got 2 carburetors in the house. I got 1 or 2 manifolds, and I got the tin that goes with the 2 holes. I got 2 of those. They're just laying around. But my dream is to build a variety of stock engines for display. But it'll never happen. That was only 74 California only.
So I've got someone, the gentleman buying the engines, he's got a 75 convertible Super.
Yeah.
He's buying my 1600. That's carbureted.
Yeah.
But
does he want to go?
Part of the process is making it correct for the 75. Tin wise, I built it with J tubes. We're putting heater boxes on it.
Just dress it up as a 49 state 74 engine.
So
because
single
dual, it's a dual port.
Yeah, it's a dual port 1600.
Is it a California? Was it fuel injected?
The car, it was, yes.
Okay, so fuel injection was North America only. I never used them in Europe. That's not European. USA and Canada. That is something for you to check. They didn't have fuel injection. All the Type 4s in Europe were carbureted. They didn't use this fuel injection on your bus here in Europe. It's carbureted. Go check the ETCA. The parts book stops at 73. 74 was a microfiche. Microfiche was replaced by the ETCA. Right. And you can look at stuff. But if you build a 75 with a carburetor, I would just go with a 74 engine. Dress it as a 74.
That's really what we're going to do, I think.
Put a 34 Pick 3.
It's already got one.
With a single vac distributor.
It's already got one.
That's all you need. Plug the other hole up. And you need a plastic air filter.
And a single tip exhaust.
Yeah, you can do that without a cat converter.
Right.
You can buy those.
I
get all that stuff.
I get all those parts. I'm a parts guy.
And a plastic air filter. And you might want to get a manifold for the carburetor on the down part here. There's a little fitting that stuck out. And you hook a vacuum line that goes up to the carburetor or the air filter. Then you got one that comes over, it opens and closes that flap where the hot air tube comes in. If you want to dress it proper. You know what I'm talking about? You do that, get the manifold with that little tube on the side, or if you can't find one, weld a little piece of metal on there and run the hose to the left side of the air filter. The right tube goes over here for looks. Because that's those 2 little things on top of the air filter, that's what it's for. If you don't want them, plug them. Just weld a piece of rod on there and run your vacuum line on there for looks. That's what you can do. Dress it up, put a cat converter on. A single tip. Out the exhaust, do your timing, and set the carburetor. It's easy to put a 34 Pick 3 on there. People complain about them. There's nothing wrong with them. Once you dial it in, leave it. It's a Volkswagen. I drive my Super Beetle. It's a 34 Pick 3. Auto stick. Turn the key, give it a gas squirt, and it fires up, and I drive my auto stick all over. What can I say? Very weird stands for VW, or vice versa.
Very weird stands for VW.
So, anyways, that's my story, Brendan. What else you want to know?
I think that's going to cover it for today.
I got that 68 beige right here. See the cover?
Uh-huh.
That's got an STP device on the engine. You never see those anymore, do you?
What's an STP device?
Walk over there. I'll stay right here. Lift the cover and lift the engine lid.
I'm going to pass you the mic. Mike's not going to make it over there.
Oh, no. Okay. Anyways, just move your chair. You can't go any way. The cars are too close.
The back end's on this side.
Yeah, back end's right here. Just lift the tarp and look at the engine. That was 68 was an attempt for smog control. Made by STP for California, and it's still on there. See that? That's pretty cool, man. Drills into the manifold, the air filter, and under the carburetor. That's an original car. It's for sale, but it has to go to someone that's going to treat it proper, Savannah beige. It has to go to someone that will never ruin it.
Have you seen, you were at Walker's earlier. Do you see his 70?
The yellow one? I didn't get a chance. We didn't go look at it. We were doing other stuff.
Because it's got a spin-on oil filter.
At the fuel pump, oil pump?
Between the alternator pulley and the crank pulley. Next time you go over there, Take a look at it.
Who put that filter on? What's it from?
Never seen anything like
Where is it? Oh, it pops out looking out. If you look
you're looking at the bottom, like the bottom of the filter.
the part, and it screws into the generator stand.
Yeah,
I've seen those before.
I'd never seen
And it
one
fits
before.
right between the fan belt.
Yes.
That's the kind of stuff that needs to be preserved. I got a Rapid Cool out there. You know what Rapid Cool is?
You showed me the Rapid Cool before. That also I had never seen before.
That's what was on the race car. That was before Doghouse. Doghouse came out in '71. Dude, what can I say, man?
How well did the Rapid Cool work?
You were telling me it's 3 degrees warmer.
I've read that it.
That's the way it was.
That was something I had the discussion with Paul several months ago about. They went to Gene Berg, had Gene Berg test it,
Yeah.
and Gene Berg found it was it made the engine run 5 to 10% hotter. They say, okay, thank you. We're going to market it and say that it makes a 10% difference in engine temperatures.
Skullduggery.
That's the story I got from Paul Yaris.
I found another Volkswagen you've never heard of. Does your phone there get the internet while we're talking? Yeah. Get to the internet and I'll tell you what to type in. It's South African.
Tell me.
VW space JEG. I'm sorry, JEG. VW JEG.
Jag.
Air-cooled rear engine.
It looks like a thing.
Looks like a
had sex with an iltis.
Doesn't it? I know much history. I just discovered that the other day.
The only 4x4 Jag.
They didn't make many. I don't.
Prototype Jag 4x4. A Jag is a Brazilian-made VW Jeep. This is from the Samba. The only 4x4 Jag in the world surfaces. There were about 3 4x4 prototypes built around 1978. This may be the only 4x4 Jag in the world. Oh yeah, did I say it only has 358 kilometers on it? Today I got to go four-wheeling in it.
Ooh.
As posted by Brian O'Kelly of the Central Coast VVWCA.
VVWCA? I know that club.
The Central Coast chapter.
Interesting, that car. I discovered the other day. I was looking up VW Brazilian buses.
Oh, it's got dual. This also has dual carbs.
Is it? I
Flip up seats. Yeah, it's got a
Brazilian dual carb.
Crap.
That's the same carbs on the Brazilian bus.
it's got a little pumpkin on the beam and CV joints. Not CV joints. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's got the steering knuckles up front.
Yeah,
Same as my Omega. The Omega front steering.
Wow.
Isn't that a nice little car?
Wow.
See, my idea is to go to a show with a club with a variety of weird cars.
It's like a VW. You know what the mini Moke is?
Yeah, and I know what the Iltis is.
Yeah.
See, what we need is a caravan of oddities. Walker wilded up, got my steering shaft fixed on the Omega. Now it's just I started up yesterday or today for the first time. Now I've got to drive it up and start breaking it in. Because the steering was real bad when he fixed it.
Right.
He just had a shear bolt, and I go, that's going to break. So he came over the other day and welded everything up and painted it. Now I can drive it. Put air in the tires and drive it. I still got tits in the tires.
Do you think it'll make it a Burbank?
What's Burbank?
Bob's, Big Boy. They're doing car hop service again.
You want me to pull up in that?
Hell yes, I do.
You can't have, do they have the trays?
It doesn't matter.
Well, you can't put the trays on that.
They can put the tray on the bed.
Or put your chairs back
truck.
there.
You can put anything back there.
I'm going to pretend it. What else? What do you want to know? There's a fuel-injected engine sitting there. So someone's making brackets for the single-wheel trailer, huh?
I believe this to be the case because this is only 3 or 4 days ago. Kevin Zagar, he owns Cool Rides Customs down in San Diego. Has started reproducing the brackets for the Allstate trailers. Let me see.
For the what?
Your trailer, the Allstate trailers.
Okay, yeah. Are they made for the VW brackets? For bumper brackets?
I'm going to, instead of talking out of my butt, I'm going to find the post because it was very.
Did I tell you about the
recent.
speedometers and Porsche speedometers and Bob Scott?
Here we go. This will be offered. These will be offered starting next week on our website for up to 1967 Beetles to carry Allstate trailers. Coming soon, Type 2 in 1968 and later. Here, I'll show you.
Okay. because my arms are bent. The holes don't line up, so I got to get them heated and moved. But run a pipe through.
Let's see if I can pull off on this website. CoolRidesCustoms.com.
Did I?
This is not an advertisement for them, but Kevin's a cool guy.
Oh, and I can put this behind that gray trailer behind this gray Beetle. Going to a club show.
Going anywhere really.
And you put a single light there, and you need some side marker lights. Use LEDs, 6-volt LEDs all over.
I'm not seeing. Let's get towing assemblies.
I got to get the bumper bracket bolts fixed on this so I can tow it.
All-state single-wheel trailer to early Beetle. 49 to 67 towing brackets.
Yeah.
For the pair, $220.
Fine with me.
They have not been load tested beyond 200 pounds. So we do not recommend trying to load your trailer up with more than 150 pounds. Are you going to be hauling 2 of you in it?
Nay, I say.
I think you're good.
I think it would just look good behind her. Just run some 6-volt wires. You run one center light. I already got a 68-liter license plate bracket for it. You mount it on the back for my license plate, which I don't have. No big deal. And you get some sort of round center stoplight, 6-volt dual element LED. In Europe, they call them Duplo bulbs, dual elements. It says in the old parts books and stuff. And tow it behind here and need a couple side marker lights. Because originally that's got a hole for round reflectors, so you can put a bicycle reflector.
Right.
But I want to have a couple red LEDs on the side. Or orange. I think it's got to be amber.
Yeah, amber sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds better. And you put a couple...
That's what I'm like, because I've got the later, a two-wheel all-state trailer.
Oh.
Solid axle one.
Is it metal?
Yeah.
Because this guy that...
it's metal. It's
got a metal lid that folds up?
I don't have it. It's supposed to have a fiberglass clamshell on top.
Okay, I don't know if it's, but there's a guy that I bought some parts from. Me and Walker went over. Walker knows the guy. In his backyard is one of those old trailers with a clamshell. I think it's Allstate. It was on Kittredge, right by the old Sears store.
Oh, no, I
he's got in the back. I bought a door. I bought that engine lid for Terry's '63 sunroof.
I need to go because I've already got one that needs the clamshell, but I need another one. So I'm gonna paint match them to the buses that they go on.
Excellent. Don't go too fast with those little wheels.
It's going behind the bus.
Huh?
It's going behind the bus.
That's a 2-liter, mister.
I've done 80 miles an hour in a 2-liter bus.
Well, you're an expert.
I don't
Dude,
know about the high roof.
You're an expert at high roof driving. I've driven this all over the place. When I was working out at Adelanto, Water and Power, I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I can, you can either take the company vehicle. I said, I'll drive my bus. So I drove it on a Monday, and I was just going to get ready to go up to Cajon Pass. I had to get off the freeway. The wind was so bad, I had to take back roads to go up to Devore and then go the old road as far as I could to go to Adelanto. Then that Friday after work, I just took off and went to Tehachapi and camped out. It was fun in the wind, though, I'll tell you that. These things are fun. You coming back from Mojave to Palmdale, I go the old road by the train tracks. Mm-hmm. You got the wheel turned 90 degrees because the wind's coming from the passenger side. And your steering wheel's turned 90 degrees. As soon as you go past a tree, the bus wants to shoot to the right. So you just got to think ahead.
It's like a 118 during a windstorm.
Oh, yeah. You got to drive a squareback Type 4 in the wind. They're all over the road. They're heavy, but they get squirrely, But you can drink and drive in a high roof. They're not going to pull you over. Nobody will get pulled over in this. It's just some hippie driving an old high roof bus. Well, Judd and I used to go to Tehachapi. He'd take his panel van, I'd take this. Took off. We would head over to, there's going to be a coffee shop over there. I get coffee and go to the back of the bus, pour some coffee up, pour some whiskey in the coffee cup, close it up, get in there and I drive. Get the Palmdale Avenue S on the old road through Soledad Canyon.
Right.
You get the at Avenue S across the Soledad Canyon. There's a big gas station. Ding, ding, we'd pull in. I get a cup of coffee, go to the back of the bus, some more whiskey in there. By the time you go take the old road and you hit Mojave, there was a liquor store. We'd get coffee and then drive up the hill to Tehachapi. They're not going to bother you in a high roof. You got a beard, man. You're looking like a hippie weirdo, man. Look at this. I should be out driving my 55, but it wouldn't start. It's a new battery. It just needs to be used. It needs to be cycled, started and started and started. And it's so nice, Brendan. This thing's got only a few hundred miles on the engine. I've had one oil change, one valve adjustment, and it's so nice. Double clutching, no synchros. And when you come up to a light, you better stop early because it'll stop, but you got to really push it. So you just drive and downshift. It's an old car. You don't drive it like a new Prius or something. You drive it gentle.
If you had to give advice to someone who's buying an old air-cooled Volkswagen to daily drive, what would you tell them?
Do it. It depends on where the head is. Like their first Volkswagen, they're getting into it.
Sure.
Buy a 68 or 69. 68 and 69, those are perfect cars to get in and drive them. They're simple still. If you get a 70, they're the same, a little bit. 70 went to a 1600 single port, a little different carburetor. 68, 69, or 70, just like this. What a perfect car to drive. If you're really into it, get a 71 later. It's got a dual port. I'm talking stock. Want to build a hot rod? Talk to a hot rodder.
Hot rod, you'll buy a V8, right?
Or if you want a hot rod Beetle, let someone else do it. I like them stock. I used to drive this 100 miles a day, my 68 to Seal Beach and back for water and power. 2.5 years, every day. It is a Volkswagen. Whether it's 10 miles or 100 miles, it's a Volkswagen. You do your maintenance and don't beat them up.
Well, Cliff, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
I like talking. I like talking. When we get done here, we'll go out to look at that red 68.
Sounds like a plan.
The doors, I can barely open the doors. They've been sitting for so long. Have a nice day. That's it?
That's it.
Cool.